Recording in progress.
Hi everybody, welcome to our Thursday night self-healing class. I'm Greg, this is First Church of Religious Science. This is the place, incidentally, where Louise Hay studied. She got her education here, and we do a self-healing class every Thursday night. Some of you, I'm happy to see on Zoom, so welcome. And some of you who will be watching our rebroadcast this week on YouTube, Facebook, and other platforms. So we want to welcome you too. If you're watching it after today, send us a note, make your comments. If you send us a message, you can receive our weekly e-letter filled with all kinds of good things. And also we will keep you, we'll keep sending you messages and reminding you when we do our events. So this is a self-healing class. Again, this is First Church, Religious Science, First Center, Religious Science in New York City. We want to give a shout out again to those of you I see signing on right now. Again, send us a request if you're on one of the other programs throughout the week, and we will send you an invitation to our Zoom call. The thing about joining us on Zoom is you have an opportunity to interact with us. We have a large group of people now, and they're everywhere, so we'd like to connect some of us, if you can watch it at the same time. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we do our self-healing class, and Sunday morning we have a lesson at 10:45. Actually, the lesson starts at 11. The meditation's at 10:45. Today's lesson on self-healing comes from and was inspired by a really wonderful talk I heard years ago, where the speaker asked the question, how well do you bounce? How well do you adapt to life when life is doing what life oftentimes does? It's a little bit about our resiliency. So we're going to reflect on a few things. We gather every week to support one another. We gather for inspiration. We gather to remind each other about the truth that each of us are individualizations of spirit, that God didn't make any junk, and that you are whole and complete, and you're an aspect, you're a point of awareness within spirit. And we're hoping you wake up to some of this as you join us every week. So I'm presenting Louise Hay principles. Again, she was a student here at our particular church or center in New York City. We're happy to share some of her healing ideas that she learned here, and also the principles from her book, You Can Heal Your Life. I'm sure everyone has seen this book before. It's been sold to 65 million people, and over 100 million people, we believe, have read it. Most of the time, what you're learning here, or what you're reminded here, is very positive in the sense that it's uplifting and motivational. So these classes are great to watch again on Facebook and YouTube when you're having a tough day. They're also good to share with your friends, your family members. Life can be challenging because in life we're encountering ourselves, and by that I mean we find out the areas in our life that are maybe not working well, places where we're stuck, or we seem to be creating the same type of situation over and over again. So in our classes we discover sometimes hidden beliefs and ideas that have been holding us back from living the life that we could be living. We have places where we're not open and we're guarded. And then, in all these different areas where we're defensive, there's a question, how is that working out for you to be holding on to a resentment or being angry or upset? I know I've done this myself. There's an old saying, it's advice of letting go of grievances, letting go of these strong critical opinions and resentments. Therapists will ask the question that Louise Hay asked over and over again. How is that working for you? This is a transformative teaching that we teach here. So we're always observing what's working for us and what isn't working for us. Our teaching is about a practice. We talk a little bit about affirmative prayer and affirmations. We keep turning towards the positive, keep seeing the good. So tonight's lesson again is, how well do you bounce? How well do you, or do you take everything personally? You'll hear me say in other lessons, this comes from the 4 agreements. Try not to take anything personally. Try not to be offended, because life isn't happening to you, life is happening for you. So how do you, in your own self-assessment, handle what you might describe as the tough days? And we all have them. Days where there's disappointments, challenges, change, the ups and downs. Do you experience a lot of sadness, grief, upset in your day-to-day experience? Are you finding yourself more disappointed most days than joyous or glad? And usually every Thursday you'll hear me asking this question: what's it been like being you today and this week? Because we have an inner dialogue that goes on, and it can be a mixture of things. But as we start to pay attention, we really want to have that shift in our dialogue. We want to start to notice what we're thinking. So we want to raise our vibration and have our self-talk be more positive. So life is always presenting us with something new, and that's what life does. And often it's unexpected, and that's what it does also. And sometimes it presents us with things that are very challenging. It could be with health, or it could be with creativity, or it could be in our jobs, it could be in our relationships. How well do you bounce? Are you adaptable when things are not going your way? So this class every Thursday helps us get through those types of days, and we really learn the value of our self-talk in this particular group, because we know that conversation, all thought is creative, and that thoughts and the body of thoughts that we're thinking is creative. It shows up in our life. So we understand how important it is to be aware of what it is that we're thinking. You might think of your self-talk as your consciousness. And I don't mean just the words you say. It's just, you know what it's like being with you all day and all night and every week. And you know what your general beliefs have been through your family and through the years, and you also have a sense of whether you're a lifter, if you most of the time you're positive, or you would know if that's not true. This inner conversation that goes on with you all the time, it's the thing that creates your life. And so that's that question: what's it been like being you today, yesterday, this week? And that's the conversation we're always having in the world that creates, at least creates our life. Florence Scovel Shinn, a famous New Thought author, wrote a book entitled "Your Word is Your Wand." And it's really brilliant. It's a brilliant title because it speaks of the issue, meaning your thoughts, your feelings, your dialogue in total are received, and the universe acts upon them. All that you think and dream and speak, everything that lies, consciously, that comes out of your mouth and what you think and lies beneath is creating your life. In our teaching, in our practice, we learn that our thoughts, our thinking, our feelings are being reflected like a mirror into the world. Many of you know this is the law of cause and effect, or the law of attraction. The thing we come to understand is life is responding to us all the time, and it always has been. I know before I encountered a practitioner in the early 1990s, I might have been praying to a God outside of me. At that point in my life, I was a little bit mixed up. I was learning about spiritual principles, but I was still looking outside myself to something external that maybe would rescue me, improve me, or improve the conditions in my life. I definitely remember a very wise lady from Boca Raton. She was a practitioner. Her name was Mary. And she suggested to me, with my beliefs at the time, so I was still hanging on to some of my parochial religious training. She said I was a child of a lesser God. And I didn't know what she was talking about fully. And she explained it more because she knew I had faith. And she said, Greg, I know you've prayed a lot in your life. You went to religious school. You've had training. You prayed when you were in trouble. You prayed when you had gratitude. You prayed for things to change. And often you were disappointed. And sometimes you thought your prayers were answered, and other times you didn't think they were. So she says, I'm sure at times you were angry at God because of what was happening. And I recall her saying to me that when you're praying to a God above to reward you, or a God that punishes you, and a God that inflicts all kinds of things upon people, she said, this is definitely a lesser idea of God. And she went on to tell me from a new thought perspective, she said, you are established in this divine essence, this energy. And I'll say that to each of you today. You are established. You are a part of it. You are one with it. You're established in this energy, and we can release the idea that we have some type of original sin. I could release the idea of needing to be saved. And then she said the most important thing. She said, I want you to understand something. She said, the universe, this creative intelligence, this energy, this great source that permeates all things and people is much greater than anything that you can conceive of. Further, it's not far off. Rather, all this healing power and all this power is within you. It's within each of us. And it's around us. It's everywhere present. And the most important thing, personally, for us to understand is that it responds to every thought we're thinking. The universal soul, you might think of as something that loves you in the sense that it responds to you. It responds to every thought we think. It doesn't respond necessarily to what we want. It doesn't responds to what we think. It responds to the totality of our consciousness. So if your tendency of thought is up and uplifting, and you're up, and as you think of people, you're generous and you're kind and you're loving. If you're extending that, that is what comes back to you. So I know this is a lot to take in if you're new, and I want to welcome anybody who's new. So what we do here every Thursday is we remind each other of the power we have, the healing power we have, that we can improve any and every area of our life. And what we are doing as we remind ourselves of these ideas, these truths, is we're always attempting to expand and grow in consciousness. We're wanting and beginning to trust life, to realize that we are one with it. You're not alone and separate in the world. There's that old story from scriptures of the prodigal child who's lost his or her way. And really what the point of the story is, you're established in this kingdom, and you have power just by virtue of your birth. You don't realize the power you have, and you go off your own way, and you feel separate and alone. But in that story, as you wake up to the truth, I'm one with this great energy, or I'm one with the Father, is the way the story goes. As you remember who you are, you become restored. And in that story, the Father is rushing to the person. And that's really what we do. We forget, and we get caught off guard, and we respond and we react to life. And the thing is, it's too bad, because it would be better if we could just keep on recalling that we're supplied and supported right here, right now. And that everything that's happening, no matter when it's tough, is happening for us. It's been said that this thing that we're teaching is the best kept secret in the world. Most people don't live with the awareness that there's God within them, that's inspiring them and moving them all the time. This spirit that people have been searching for everywhere is very much alive in everybody here on the call and anybody who will be listening this week. So if you bring Louise Hay into this discussion, she had great spiritual awareness. A lot of people think, oh my God, we had all these fantastic teachers before her. She really was revolutionary in the fact that she could take these great teachings and she could make them so available to so many people. She said over and over again, all healing, that's healing, relationships, jobs, health, all healing is self-healing. You have the power, though you don't believe it oftentimes, or you forget that you have it. You can heal whatever it is that's in your life if you really want to. But you must really want to, and you must connect and understand that you have this power. Each of us are wonderful creators in our own right. Now, you've been creating your own life up to now, and you might say it's kind of a mixed bag. I've experienced success, but I've also experienced a lot of pain. And so it's how you use this law. As you begin to practice the teaching more and understand that you're coming from a place of connection, you learn to be a lifter and a person who's an encourager, and you keep seeing the good in others and yourself, you're going to lift yourself out of even more things that you've been tied up in. All of us have been very busy creating our lives and our day-to-day experience. As you begin to live the affirmative life and use affirmations and affirmative prayer, which we teach, you'll start to see everything change. Please understand that your affirmations work better if you truly expect them to work. So first of all, I want to celebrate each of you, because each of you are creators, each of you are individualizations of this same force. And I want you to remember this simple idea and say to yourself with this simple idea, I have power. I have power to use. It's greater than I am, but I'm a part of it, and I can use it. I have power to reduce and eliminate stress. I have power to take charge of the things that occupy my mind. Research will show that optimistic people, empowered people, are less likely to get heart disease. They're less likely to have colds, and they're less likely to get sick and experience dis-ease. Or when they have dis-ease or some of these things, their healing processes go much better, because if you're focused on knowing there's a divine pattern of health within you, and you're releasing any of the thoughts that are contributing to the problem, as you focus and use the power of your own word and your own consciousness, you can facilitate healing and help improve any condition. We work with doctors, we work with healthcare practitioners, but we know ultimately the decider in anyone's life is you. So you have the executive power that Ernest Holmes spoke of. Ernest Holmes was the founder of the science of mind. He said, you have the power to decide. So you bring in the people that are your practitioners, your helpers, your technicians, but you are the author of your own experience. You have that kind of power. Please don't give your power away to other people. That's doctors, it's employers, it's people. You are an authority unto your own life. I've read over the years, when you're embracing wholeness and health and know that there's a divine pattern of wholeness, health, prosperity within you, you become optimistic and you become calm, and you're building up your body, you're building up your mind, you're building up your consciousness. There's even research that indicates that we slow down the aging process as we're able to pause and reflect and get ourselves centered and start off our day, each day, talk we did not too long ago. After hello, what? I mean, meaning when you wake up in the morning, what do you tell yourself? And on the other side of the coin, when we are continually stressed out, anxious, sad, our body reacts physically. For example, we might develop, as mentioned before, high blood pressure, heart disease, stomach ulcers, a lot of things, if you're maintaining high stress levels. So we want to have a daily practice where we get centered. You could start with a gratitude list. You could start by journaling. You could start by meditating. The method isn't as important as that you make a beginning and realize and reflect that life is responding to you. Louise Hay, as mentioned, she was a student here at our center. She studied our teaching. She became very, very good at it. And our teaching really is about spiritual realization and self-healing. We come to realize through all of our activities that we are one with the living Spirit. Furthermore, the living Spirit is in us. We're one with it. It operates through us. It inspires us. So we want to slow down enough in some way. I've mentioned different ways, so that we can commune with it. As we realize and as we align ourselves with Spirit, we will quickly begin to understand it's responding to us all the time. Spirit, or this energy in you, is operating through you, and it's endlessly saying yes to you, what you think and believe. It's what it has to do. It responds. So it's wise of us to start paying attention to our thoughts and have the willingness to cancel out the ones that are not great and embrace the ones that are really wonderful. As we're aware and as we know that we're one with Spirit, we know that we have the ability to choose and to manifest different realities, and that we are creating endless experiences each and every day and week of our life. Here's an expression some of you have heard before, most of you know. Like attracts like. Wherever your consciousness is along the spectrum of life, it's important to understand also that who you are now is much different than who you were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Your spiritual understanding has been growing. So, but wherever it is, like attracts like. It's important to know you are in an evolutionary process, and everyone else is as well. So what you personally know and believe right now is being reflected back to you in your life. If you don't like what's going on in your life, then slow down and get centered. I'll invoke Dr. Barker. Yesterday ended last night, or I'll invoke a 12-step program which will say, it's never too late to start your day over. So if you've had a bad morning, then stop and calm yourself and get yourself recentered and start the day over right now if you need to. In your relationships, in your health, in your abundance, your prosperity, everything that's there in some way is mirroring your belief system or your consciousness. So let's go back to our day-to-day living for a moment, where we are dealing with life on life's terms. You might have an argument with somebody. I'm sure you have before. Maybe you had one today. Or other things might be happening not to your liking. In those moments, we, with our ability to name things, because you're creating things, your word is your wand, we're inclined to judge situations. We're inclined to judge situations or people, and we want to be very careful about that. We might see a person as being deficient or the bad actor in some way, when in reality, they simply have a different perception or view, which is their choice. It's their prerogative. It's okay. If you think about it, we know that we are all individualizations of this one life. And wouldn't it be logical to presume that everyone will think, it would not be logical to think everybody's going to think alike, because we're all individuals. We're created in freedom, and it's important to understand that each of us are finding our own way. Life would be very boring if we all thought the same way. So everyone's going to have their own thoughts, and that's exciting. Each and every one of us are in a different place of evolution. I don't expect somebody who's coming right out of a, dogmatic religion, like I would have been when I was getting out of grade school or high school. I wouldn't expect them to totally understand what I'm talking about. I hope they find something interesting enough about it that they might be willing to explore. But everyone's in a different place. This teaching, though, could help everyone, anyone, but it isn't necessarily for everyone. You know, there's people who are attracted to things that work for them that are better suited to where they are. So those of us who come together are grateful that we have a center like this where we can be reminded of the truth of who we are. But we don't proselytize. We're not out there trying to convert anybody. We're celebrating the fact that we realize that we're one with the one and that it responds to us. We make judgments sometimes. We forget this often. And then we tune back in on Thursday or Sunday and we're reminded. When we're making judgments and we tell stories, and we judge people, places, and things, and blame people and all that, and we're somewhat lost. It happens. We'll tell a story about the things we thought that happened to us in the past when we're describing the present situation. So this notion, you know, we have these judgments. This is wrong, that's wrong, people are wrong, or we do all that, or someone's wronged us, because things aren't working out. And most of that is unresolved stuff from our past that we're projecting. And we all do it to a degree. So if you find that you're a person that's involved in talking a lot about other people and judging everyone, I'd invite you to come to this class and we realize a few things, that everyone's doing the best they can. And we're all evolving. You're changing. So everyone's in the divine right place. So it will help you to realize that. And we put our focus on working on ourselves, and we understand that everyone else is evolving in perfect time and place. When we get involved in this teaching, when we develop a metaphysical approach, we learn to think differently. We start to understand, again, people are at different levels of consciousness. We know there's behavior, could be good or bad, or everything in between. People have done things that we don't like, we can't condone, but every person, including ourselves, we're all growing. And we're all incarnations of spirit, individualizations. So I learned years ago, even though you might not like your own behavior, you might not like that of others, we're not here to blame anybody. We're here to acknowledge that there's spiritual beings in a process of growing and expanding and evolving, and they're doing the best they can. You've got to begin to love yourself and forgive yourself so you can attempt to move forward and extend love towards others. We are attempting to live, here's a phrase that I love, we're attempting to live in a world where nothing and no one is against us. So you can create that if you really want it. You can say to yourself, I live in a world where I take nothing personally and I know nothing and no one is against me. Most of us try to stay current with what goes on in the world. So we read the news, but I would invite you not to spend a lot of time with the news because rarely is it good. So we want to clean up some of that stuff if we can. Wherever we're in a place of judgment, we're in separation because we're judging. See, everything you're looking at is an aspect of spirit. So if you're a real truth student, you're going to understand that whatever is appearing right now is in divine right order. So knowing that, logically, you don't have so much to say. You can observe. You don't have to react to everything. You don't have to give your power away. You might be thinking of people, groups of people in your family, or it could be political, it could be just a whole group of people you know. You might think they're not too swift. You might think they are great. You might think they're generous. You might think they're anything because you're forming all these assessments. But when we come up with these assessments, most likely and most often we are incorrect. So hopefully as we join together week by week, we become smarter. in this teaching, we really get to a point where we realize I'm not here to judge. I hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And I understand that I'm doing the best I can, and I really want to extend that awareness to others. You'll find that your life will become much happier. So for now, we realize we want to stop ourselves when we're making sweeping generalizations about anything or anyone, critical assessments, because each of us know that each person is an individualization of spirit. They're manifesting life at their level of understanding. You might look in your own family, you might think, oh my God, my family's at war with each other, or in our country, or the world beyond, and you could turn the news stations and you could think you're living in two different countries. There's plenty of ways to observe division, but that isn't really where we put our focus. We understand that when we're in division, you've heard the expression, the house can't stand when it's divided. So it begins with us to understand that all is well. And that's where it begins. If that's your perception, where you're seeing the good, the God, you have a healing consciousness, you will help many people. There's an activity always going on underneath the surface of things that's bringing things forward toward a greater unity to a higher place. Now, you might not think it's true as you turn on those news programs, but there is still a creative push that's in the universe that unites and that brings forth greater understanding. The world is rapidly moving forward with human knowledge is doubling every few days, and we could focus on all the miraculous things that are happening in life and put our focus there, because then you're aligning yourself with the truth of the universe. Or you can get caught off guard and do it the other way. Everything Ernest Holmes taught and we teach is in divine order and unfolding in the perfect time and place. You yourself are evolving. You're much more aware than what you were at any time of your life, and you're spectacular. So I hope you can take that in. If you can take this in, you'll be able to release the need to worry, and truly you're going to begin to know all is well. It's very unwise of us to create anyone as a bad person. I'm going to say it again and repeat a little metaphysical truth. There are no bad people in truth when you consider things from a spiritual vantage point. We know every person is evolving. You don't have to like their behavior, but they're evolving, and you're evolving. Don't compare yourself with other people, because everyone's on this continuum of growth and expansion, and they're in different places. When you understand that, it's hard to judge anybody, and we want to release the need to judge anyone as soon as we notice we're doing it. I mean, really, how can you judge someone when you know this is where they are, and it's just that simple? You've been in similar places in your life. A great therapist, you've heard me quote her before, her name was Joyce, asked me one question every week: whose problem is this anyway? If you're troubled about something, really, take a look at that, because life is perfectly unfolding, and just release the need to be caught up in all the judgment if you can, right? Otherwise, it's got you. You're giving your power away. Her great gift to me was to have me see that when my nose was out of joint about people's behavior and all that type of stuff, I was giving my power away, and I didn't have to. When we enter this teaching, we quickly learn to step aside and let go of many, many of our strong opinions and our judgments and our critical thought. And we realize that I live in a perfect spiritual system. I'm given great gifts, and I'm here to celebrate life and to see the spectacular aspects of life, and they're in everybody. In the ancient cultures that say namaste, they're really acknowledging the divinity and the perfection in every person they meet. So that's our job, is to love ourselves, to get our vision straight, to release the stuff that's inside of us that's holding us back. People always ask me, what's your position on this, or what's religious science position on this, when someone else is, and someone else's position on something else. And it's always an interesting question, and usually I'm sidestepping it a little bit. What we're about here is self-healing. We aren't about division. We welcome everybody here. You know, our teaching can include everyone. We don't have positions that cause division. We're not really talking about who's right and wrong. It isn't our thing. We're not here to do that. In a continuum of life, people are going to do and say all kinds of things. Do you think it would be wise of us to judge one is right and one is wrong? We know that perfect life is unfolding and that people are expressing themselves at the level of their understanding. So we see the underlying unity in life, the goodness and the truth, so there's a respect here for different points of view and different types of expression. We don't need anything outside of ourselves to validate ourselves. From Louise to you, self-acceptance and self-approval are the keys to all changes in your life. So I'd encourage anybody to begin loving themselves and accepting themselves today, and just keep on working with your positive affirmations, and let go of what other people are doing. It's none of our spiritual business. Let's be less concerned with how many people approve of us. Terry Cole Whitaker said it so well with the name of her book, "What they think of you is none of your business." It's really about what you think about yourself and how you approach life that's important. People have choices, and they have the freedom of expression. Thank God we live in a place where we can think and speak for ourselves. We are individualizations of spirit, and we make choices, and we make mistakes, and when we make mistakes, we make corrections. We don't look to authority figures of any kind to decide for us what is good, because we live in connection with a spirit that always is self-correcting, bringing us new inspiration to create new moments, new days. Each of you are standing on what we'll call holy ground, because within you, you have access to everything. Nothing is denied you. Each of you are one with power, and you have an internal guidance system within you. Each of us, just by being alive, have been given such a tremendous gift. And when we awaken that gift and all that power is within us, ready to be used, you're unstoppable. So life is giving you all green lights to change anything and everything, to heal, to become whole, to become happy. You're standing on this very profound holy ground, and you have power at your disposal. Nothing and no one can be against you when you understand who and what you are. When you have this working within you, though, you're working with these principles, you've developed a rather high consciousness, and this is a person who's learning not to take things personally. This is usually a person who's not concerned with, you love everybody and you know they're doing the best they can, but you don't get involved in all of the stuff because you're really being about a higher purpose, what they used to say, the Father's business. You're evolving to a point where you really don't have a need to be involved in those discussions. You realize your life is not a dress rehearsal. You're here for so many years, and you really want to have your life matter, and you want to experience more joy. So Louise knew all of this. She didn't always take it at such a deep level, but she was wise enough to say, never, never, never criticize yourself. Don't criticize others. And we'll take it a step past, again, Louise, where we'll say, life is perfect. Release the need to criticize yourself or others, because we're all interconnected in truth. There's nothing outside of you. So that ends this evening's lesson. I'll look forward to the other side of the break where we can hear some of your comments, and you might answer the question, what's it been like being you this week? What's coming up? What are you creating? Are you monitoring your thinking, your thoughts? Are you changing? When they're negative, do you catch yourself and do you change them? And hopefully you do. If you're doing that, you're doing it gently and calmly, and you're learning to treat yourself as you would a good friend. So there's nobody nicer to be nicer to than you. Be nice to you. So we'll see you at the other side of the break. Thank you.